Oh, we are getting closer and closer to summer and closer to days spent outside getting sunburned. May is Skin Cancer Awareness Month, so we're digging into everything you need to know about sunscreen, when to apply it, starting with how to avoid the sunburns.
You should really be wearing your hats.
Yes.
You should be wearing your sunglasses, and you should be applying sunscreen pretty frequently and often.
Mills said you should apply sunscreen anytime you go out, and you need to do that 15 minutes before you go outside. Reapply your sunscreen every 80 minutes or so, making sure to cover your face, your ears, your shoulders, your hands, and your neck. Now, if you plan to spend some outside time, right, this summer, you're going to be making your way through a whole lot of bottles of sunscreen. So how do you find out how to get the best product for your money? You turn to Consumer Reports, of course.
We test sunscreens to see how well they protect against two types of the sun's rays, UVA and UVB, which cause aging, skin cancer, and sunburn.
Consumer Reports tested 71 sunscreen products. We're talking lotions, sprays, and moisturizers. To test for SPF, that's the sun protection factor that measures how well a sunscreen protects against UVB rays, testers apply sunscreen onto panelists' backs before they soak into a tub for 40 to 80 minutes, depending, of course, on the sunscreen's water resistance claim. The area is then exposed to simulated sunlight. The next day, trained experts examine the area for the amount of redness. Now, to test for protection against UVA rays, testers apply sunscreen on plastic plates. They expose them to UV light, and then they measure the amount of rays that are absorbed.
All of our top-rated sunscreens contain chemical active ingredients. In our tests over the years, we found that mineral sunscreens don't protect as well.
Well, the top performing sunscreen, let me move over a little bit so you can see the whole thing. It is a Coppertone product, Coppertone Water Babies Lotion SPF 50. And I know it says babies, but it is for adults too. Now here's the full list of rankings. You can see the Coppertone earns perfect marks. I was looking for where my Equate brand from Walmart came in. Usually it is one of the #1 picks. It's 4th on the list this year, but it still earns 4 out of 5 on the SPF ranking. And it's half the cost of the Coppertone at under $8. So those are your top rated choices, but when do you need to toss your sunscreen out? Can you use expired sunscreen? Abby Larico verifies.
Your towel, your hat, sandals, sunnies, and sunscreen. They're the must-have accessories of the summertime. But when you're lathered up in last season's SPF, is it more than just out of fashion? Let's verify. Does sunscreen expire? Here's a look at the sources we checked in with to find out. And yes, sunscreen expires, after which time there's no assurance the product remains effective, according to the FDA and dermatologists.
I would take it seriously. About 1 in 5 Americans gets a skin cancer at some point in life. If you're putting it on your skin, it's important that it does the trick for you. So I would take a look at that bottle.
However, you might not see that date printed on the sunscreen bottle. According to the FDA, they require sunscreens and other non-prescription drugs to have expiration date labels unless testing shows the product will remain stable for at least 3 years, which means anything that doesn't have a printed use-by date should be considered expired after 3 years. Try using a magic marker to write the date of purchase on your new bottles, and store sunscreen away from too much heat and direct sunlight to keep it from growing bad prematurely. If you can't be sure you did that even with last summer's stash, you might consider a trip to the sunscreen aisle.
If you've got sunscreen that's been hanging around since last year, it will still work, but it won't be as effective as it would have been if it was new.
And don't forget, on long days in the sun, no matter the SPF, experts say sunscreen should be reapplied at least every 2 hours, more when you're swimming or sweating. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
All right, but what about days like today? So Tim, it's not super hot out. There's a little bit of cloud cover. It feels really good. Yep. So what impacts your sun exposure?
It's a great question, Tanya, because a lot of people think you can only get sunburned on a hot day of weather, and the air temperature has very little to do with it. Let me show you the main factors you have to watch for when it comes to your sunburn risk. Number 1 is the sun angle. How high is the sun in the sky? Obviously, time of day is a big factor there. Noon, 1 o'clock, that's the biggest risk. But also time of year. that has a big role to play as well. Cloud cover, that's going to minimize your risk. The cloudier it is, the harder it is to get sunburn. But also on the flip side, if you're near water or sand, those are reflective surfaces. They're going to bounce those sun rays up into your face, making it easier to get sunburn. We talked about the sun angle. In June, it's at the highest point in the sky. In December, it's at the lowest point in the sky. Right now, one of the easiest times of year to get sunburned.
All right, interesting. All right, so if you do happen to get a sunburn, there are a few things that medical experts recommend you do to help your skin heal and make yourself feel a little more comfortable. Using aloe, getting into a cool bath, taking Tylenol, maybe not popping any of the blisters, and something you might not think about.
And you need to hydrate because you kind of baked yourself. You put yourself in a toaster and you dried yourself out. So drink a lot of water to help that skin feel a little bit better.